conference. Today's call is being recorded. At this time, I'd like to turn things over to Mr. Dave Schaller. Please go ahead, sir.
Thanks, Dave. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Strikeforce Melendez versus Masvidal media conference call. Today, I'm filling in for Strikeforce publicist Ryan Grab, who's traveling. He'll still be your point of contact for this event. Strikeforce Melendez versus Masvidal takes place on Saturday, December 17th from the Valley View Casino Center in San Diego, California. There are still tickets available, and the action will be broadcast as a part of a huge night of combat sports on Showtime, 10:30 p.m. Eastern and Pacific. Today on the call, we are joined by the main and co-main participants from next weekend's card, Strikeforce lightweight champion Gilbert Melendez and his opponent Jorge Masvidal, as well as Strikeforce women's featherweight champion Cris Cyborg Santos and her challenger Hiroko Yamanaka. Also on the call is the man I'll turn it over to right now, Strikeforce CEO Scott Coker. Scott?
Thanks, Dave. I'd like to thank the members of the media for being on the call today. I'm excited to be back in San Diego for our second championship Strikeforce event on Showtime this year. I'd like to thank the fighters, Gilbert, and everybody on the call, as well as our broadcast partner, Showtime Television, and new Vice President, or President actually, Mr. Steven Espinoza. Wish all the fighters good luck. We look forward to another amazing fight card on Showtime on December 17th in San Diego. And with that, Dave, I'll just pass it back to you.
Thanks, Scott. Abe, let's go ahead and open up for questions. Before we do that, I just want to let everybody know that Hiroko Yamanaka will be translated today by Isamu Hiroyochu, and also on the call for Cyborg Santos is a translator, and that is Cosmo, so he joins us again today. Abe, let's go ahead and open it up for questions.
All right, great. Thank you very much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if you would like to queue up to ask a question at this time, please press star, then 1 on your touchtone telephone keypad. Again, that's star 1 to queue up to ask a question at this time, and we will pause for a moment to assemble our question roster. All right, there's currently no questions in the queue, but once again, ladies and gentlemen, that's star 1 to queue up to ask your question at this time.
Abe, let's go ahead with Mike H.E.A.T from MMAfighting.com.
All right, thank you very much. Mike, your line's open.
Hey, question for Gilbert, please. In the past, you've spoken of wanting to fight, big names. Eddie Alvarez, the name you mentioned when he was the Bellator champion. You've spoken of interest in fighting UFC guys as well. So I'm curious, how did you feel about this matchup with Jorge when it was offered to you?
I was excited about this fight. I think Jorge's a tough fighter. I don't think he's the most popular, but he's underrated. But yeah, it's a good challenge, and he's someone that's been in the circuit for a long time. I was outside the UFC, so I kind of anticipated fighting him, even a couple years ago. So yeah, I'm pumped on it, man. It's a good challenge. It'll be a good show.
And he was fighting at welterweight for a little while. Then his last 2 fights have been at lightweight. Now, what are your impressions of his last 2 performances? The wins over Nunes and Billy Evangelista.
Yeah, he looked really good against KJ. He looked good. Really good tricks. Looked in good shape. Looked like he's finally adapted to the weight class. Yeah, he's a complete MMA fighter. He looked good.
Jorge, what does this opportunity mean to you to have this chance to win a major championship?
It means a lot, man. Fighting not just a championship, fighting a top-ranked guy, either number 1 or number 2 in most people's opinions. That's what really matters to me. The belt, I could really care less for it,
Why is that?
Because sometimes you can fight a guy that has a belt that's not a top-ranked guy. That could be a scrub or something, But I'm actually fighting one of the top lightweights in the world, and that's what really means something to me.
Gotcha. Where do you see your advantages in this fight, Jorge?
Man, wherever the fight goes, I'm ready, man. That's why I see my advantage, man. On the feet, on the ground, I just want to get in there and fight, man.
Thanks, guys. And a question for Scott real quick. I'm sure lots of people are wondering, is there anything you could say about the status of the Showtime Strikeforce deal? I know it's been talked about an event in January now. Is the extension official?
You know what? There's nothing to announce, but I'm optimistic at this point.
Do you have sort of a time frame on when we might hear something official?
You know what? That's something that we'll have to just wait and see. But I think that things are going well, and I think we'll have something to announce shortly. But right now, I have nothing official to announce.
Okay, thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
All right, great. Thank you very much. Well, now moving on, we'll take a question from Richard Hunter with KLLI Radio Dallas.
Yes, hi. Question for Gilbert. Gilbert, you're obviously mentioned regularly as one of the best lightweights in the world. It was one thing when Strikeforce and UFC were separate companies, but now that they are owned by the same parent company, how personally involved have you been with your team, with your management, about the idea of possibly going to the UFC at some point now that we're seeing fighters like Nick Diaz do that, or do you have to intentionally separate yourself from that to focus on your Strikeforce title defense?
We've talked about it a little bit. Before the big buzz about me jumping over the UFC, and before Dana White started mentioning my name, and the whole rumors started going on. My contract was already signed to fight Jorge. And maybe it was even 5 weeks before that, a couple weeks before that, and you get a little excited hearing all that stuff, but that was kind of just my focus as soon as we signed that deal. But it's obvious it's something we've been talking about. And I think it's inevitable. I think some of the top fighters need to go to the UFC. And I'm one of those guys. So it's in the works. It's things have been talked about. Am I in it all the time? Am I the one talking to them? No, but there's some dialogue going on, and the goal is to be the UFC champ at the end of the day. The goal is to be number one in the world at the end of the day, and the only way to do that is by getting the UFC title. So, yeah.
So you use the word inevitable. You feel like your move to the UFC is eventually inevitable?
I would say.
Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you very much. Well, once again, ladies and gentlemen, that's *1 to queue up to ask a question. Again, that's *1. And we'll now move on to Damon Martin with MMAweekly.com.
Yeah, first question is for Cris Cyborg. Cris, there's been a lot of talk about your future in the women's division and even a move to 135 pounds. I know your focus is on this title fight, but can you talk to us about that? Is that a serious move? Is that something you're considering?
Damon, can you repeat that question one more time for me, bud?
Sure. Question for Cris Cyborg. I know there's been a lot of talk about you moving possibly to 135 pounds, and I know your focus is on this title fight, but is that something realistic? Is that something you're considering, a move to 135 pounds eventually?
Cosmo, did you hear that question? Abe, do we having trouble with Cyborg's line?
Yeah, looks like they just dropped. We'll connect them. Just one moment.
All right, Damon, if you have another question, we'll get Cyborg back on the line. If you have another question for anybody else on the call, we'll happily take it at this time.
Sure. Question for Jorge. You kind of mentioned it earlier about, the magnitude of a fight like this. Does the fact that, there's a lot of talk about Gilbert, maybe moving to the UFC, there was talk about it even before this fight. Does it serve as a distraction? Are you kind of excited about the fact that, people are, hyped around Gilbert, that if you beat him, this is such a big step for you?
Man, it don't really matter, man, what people say about him or anything. I just want to fight him. I know he's a solid fighter, and that's all that matters to me, And that's it, really, man. To me, it's just another fight, train hard, and that's it. Train long because it's 5 rounds. That's the only difference, and that's it, man. Go in there and do my job.
And one quick one for Gilbert. Gilbert, I know, obviously all the talk about, the UFC and Frankie Edgar, Ben Henderson, whoever, whatever, but does it serve as a distraction for you going into this fight, or do you have to block all that out, or do you take that as motivation?
Exactly, man. The last thing you said, man, the motivation. You get motivated when you're the underdog, or, you get motivated when there's a lot of hype. A lot of people have been talking nonsense that Jorge he's no good. You're gonna run right by him, and that talk kind of bothers me because some people are ignorant. They don't follow the game that much. If you don't fight in the UFC, they think you're no good. So what's been the challenge for me is motivating myself and staying motivated and pumping myself up. So this means a lot to myself. Not to fans, not to anybody. This fight's for me, just to prove that I can defend my throne, and I'm the big favorite here, and I have a tough guy who's underrated, and I got to really come through. So that's what's been motivating me, and I think if I can get past this and look real good, I think it'll mean a lot to me more than I think will to anyone else, you know.
Excellent. And then for Cyborg, again, just to kind of repeat that earlier question, with all the talk about, you being back in Strikeforce in this title fight, but are you, there's been a lot of talk about you moving to 135 pounds. Is that something you're considering? Is that something you're serious about moving to eventually?
Você está considerando baixar para 135 pounds?
Não, acho que vai ser trabalho difícil, mas eu vou tentar.
She's saying that she's gonna be difficult, but she's gonna try to make the move if there's gonna be more work for her there.
Is that something to consider after this fight, or is that something she's already, basically after this fight, that's going to be what she tries?
Você vai considerar isso depois dessa luta? Ou vai tentar...
Não, eu quero lutar as duas categorias, só que se eu tiver com 135 eu posso lutar mais.
She's saying that she wants to try to do both categories if possible, but she knows there'll be more opportunities at 135.
Excellent. Thanks very much.
You're welcome.
All right, great. Thank you very much. Well, now moving on, we'll take a question from Bob Emanuel of Scripps Howard.
Gilbert, if you defeat Jorge, do you think the plan is, the transition to the UFC and fight the Edgar Henderson winner? Do you think that's what's next for you?
I can't even confirm that or anything like that. Again, man, the goal is to be, number one in the world. You know what I mean? If I have to beat Jorge, if I have to beat someone else, I have to beat 5 more people before that, then so be it. But the sooner the better. I think I deserve the chance at that UFC title for, since now. So if I can get it as soon as possible, that'd be great. If not, if I have to keep winning and keep working hard, and I feel like I've been constantly proving myself in this MMA industry, then so be it. It's inevitable, dude. I'm coming for that spot. But the better would be nice.
Who are the guys that you'd most like to fight if you had your choice of anybody? What 1 or 2 guys would you say this would be my ideal next opponent?
It doesn't really matter. Of course, you'd like to fight someone who would just hop to their back and sit down there and let them beat me and let me beat them up. That'd be cool. But realistically, I think whoever the champ is, you know what I mean? Whoever the champ is out there, or whoever's next in line, if it's gonna take me 3 fights, I want the number 3 guy, the number 2 guy, then the number 1 guy. If it's gonna take me 2 fights, give me the number 2 guy, and then the number 1 guy. It doesn't really matter who, to be honest. I don't really have a particular person that I want to fight. I just want to challenge myself. I want to put on some good shows, and I want to fight everybody to prove that I'm number 1. That's it, man. I want to find out myself if I'm number 1. I really do.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it. Good luck.
Thanks.
Great, thank you very much. Now moving on, we'll go to Nicholas King with CKNW.
Oh, hey guys, how's it going? Thanks for having me. Jorge, actually I want to ask all you guys a bunch of questions here, or a few questions rather. But Jorge, I know you said this fight is just another fight for you, but do you really believe that? Gilbert's giving you props here. Gilbert's an awesome fighter. I think you're a great fighter, and I think this is, more than just another fight for you. Do you think you could even use this to get to the UFC? And is that something you'd want to do?
When I say just another fight, it's not like I'm dissing my opponent skill-wise or anything. I'm just saying I don't get caught up in that it's a title and it's the main event and Showtime and nothing like that. It's just at the end of the day, no matter what's on stake, it's just a fight, man. It's not like, Gil has a gun and I'm going in there empty-handed. It's just another fight. That's exactly what I mean. And whatever happens after. But my focus right now is Strikeforce. Obviously, I'd like to go to UFC or wherever I'm gonna make the most money. That's my ultimate goal, and I think UFC is that. So definitely that'd be in my plans,
Well, I gotta say, I like your guys' attitudes here. I think this is really going to be an awesome fight. Gilbert, what do you think? What are some of the things you've been working on for this fight versus Jorge? Have you been working on anything new? Because I think this is going to be a great stand-up battle, to be honest with you guys.
Yeah, I think I'm going to pull guard. No, I don't plan. I don't plan on blowing the whistle on myself right now. I've been training really hard for Jorge. He has he poses a lot of threats on the feet. He's a well-rounded fighter, and I agree. I think he could take out a lot of guys in the UFC right now. And and I don't I guess I don't really want to talk game plan, bro. I'm just gonna go out there and show it. But like him, I'm ready for every scenario. I've been ready for every scenario for a long time. So I'm looking forward to just testing myself out there and putting on a good show. I think we both like to fight, and that's what's gonna make a good fight.
Oh, yeah, I totally agree. I just just on one of those things that you just mentioned about you being ready. I know you want to get to the UFC as soon as possible. Obviously, fight for that belt, but both of those things would obviously be good. But would you be happy just getting to the UFC and fighting and putting on good shows, or are you like really intent? I mean, yeah, you're intent on getting that belt shot right away, but
yeah,
like, are you?
Yeah, like I'm not. This is I love what I do, man. This is fun for me. I get paid for this. It's unbelievable. You know what I mean? This is great. I'm very content. And fighting in the UFC. I'm since the UFC's taken over and I've been able to brand myself a lot more. My Twitter followers are up. My name's around a lot more, and that's the most important thing is to have life outside the cage after your career is over, and that's what the UFC can do for you. Really help you brand yourself, and that's what I look forward to in the UFC. Of course, challenging myself, and I enjoy what I do, man, and I'm okay with losing too. I train my butt off. I train my butt off hard, which makes me real content. If I walk in there and I just perform to the best of my ability, then I can live with myself. You know what I mean? I'm fine with that. But yeah, man, I love what I do. I want to find out if I'm number one. But I'll continue to fight. I'll continue to battle till I can't battle no more.
I love that statement, man. I got to find out if I'm number one. That's just awesome, man. Okay, Scott. I got one question for you, man. There's so many places for MMA fighters to work these days. How is Strikeforce gonna be different? In 2012, what's gonna be different? What's gonna, give me something.
Well, I think in the history of Strikeforce, since the relationship with Showtime was developed, we've put on, I think, some of the best fights, in the history of MMA, and we've done our part to grow the sport. And that's going to continue. There's still a lot of great fighters on the roster, and we're going to keep building these fighters. We're going to keep putting on great fights. And so, to me, that's not going to change. And so everybody can tune into Showtime and watch it in 2012, and we're going to put on some amazing fights.
All right, great. Thank you very much. Now moving on, we'll go to Damon Martin with MMAweekly.com.
Real quick questions for Hiroko Yamanaka. There's so much hype, in the women's division for Cris Cyborg. Do you feel in any way that you're being overlooked going into this fight?
ヒロコ選手に質問です。今回の試合に関して、サイボーグ選手の方にすごく注目が集まっているんですけど、そのことに関してちょっと自分が置いていかれているというか、注目されていないというような感じはありますか？
特にそういったことは考えてないですね。とりあえずもう試合で勝つことしか考えてないんで。
わかりました。Well, I don't feel like I'm overlooked or anything. Only thing I have in my mind is to win this fight. That's all.
When you look at Cris Cyborg, she's been such a dominant champion and so overwhelming in her fights, but do you feel like the experience you had, you're one of the most experienced opponents she's ever faced, do you think that that's going to play a big factor in this fight, the fact that you have had so many fights and obviously had so many great performances in the past?
Dave, do we still have them on the line?
Yes, they're still connected.
All right, Damon, one more time on that question, bud.
Sure. For Yamanaka, that's okay. Yeah, you have so much experience. I mean, I know Cris Cyborg has really looked dominant in all of her past fights, but you probably have some of the most experience of any fighter she's ever faced. Do you think that'll play a big factor in a fight like this?
ヒロコ選手に質問です。あなたは非常に今までいい成績を出して非常に良い経験もされています。おそらく今までサイボーグ選手が戦った相手の中では一番経験のある相手だと思います。そのあなたの経験はそのサイボーグ選手との試合において有利に働くと思いますか？
働くと思います。今までの経験は無駄になってないと思います。
Yes, I do feel that my experience will benefit me, and I had a lot of good experience, and it's going to benefit me in this fight as well.
Excellent. And one quick follow-up to that for Scott. Scott, I know it's been tough to develop, some of the fighters for 145 with Cris, maybe talking about moving to 135. Is there still going to be a focus of bringing in more women for 145, or can you kind of give us an idea of what the future is for that division?
Yeah, right now we're committed to running those two weight classes. Keep in mind, it's done very well. The female fighting on Showtime has done very well ratings-wise, even outdrawing some of the male fights. And we're committed to running those two divisions. So, we're going to continue scouring the planet looking for the top girls, and I think we've done that. So, we're going to keep doing it, and there'll be more fights for Cris in the future at 135 or 145.
Excellent. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much. Now moving on, we'll go to Brendan Conlon with Rebellion Media.
Yeah, hi. How's it going? The first question is for Cyborg. It's been a while since you fought. I'm just curious if you can share some ways you feel you've improved since it's been more than a year.
Fala que você tem mais de año que não luta. Em que coisa você é melhorado?
Eu acho que eu acredito que eu melhorei meu jiu-jitsu, eu treinei muito e competi também. Eu acredito que eu melhorei em tudo que eu tô treinando, boxe, jiu-jitsu, muay thai. Eu me dediquei cada vez mais para melhorar meu jogo no MMA.
She feels like she's gotten better at jiu-jitsu. She's been staying competitive in that aspect. Her working on boxing and working on her striking, and she feels like she's better rounded, more well-rounded as a fighter now than she was before.
Okay, and then for her opponent, for Ms. Yamanaka, since you'll be making your Strikeforce debut, what do you want fans to know about you? Since a lot of American fans may not be familiar with what you've accomplished.
Hiroko 選手に質問です。これがアメリカでのデビュー戦となるんですけれども、デビューするにあたって、アメリカのファンに対してあなたについて知っておいてもらいたいこと、アピールしたいことはありますか？
アピールしたいこと。
アメリカのファンに知っておいてもらいたい、あなたについて知っておいてもらいたいことありますか？
そうですね、今回の試合でもちろんもう負けるつもりないし、勝つつもりでいくんで、ベルトを持って帰りたいと思います。
Okay, I just want American fans to know that I'm so determined to win this fight, and I'm gonna walk out the cage with my championship belt.
Great, and then just a final question for Gilbert. Assuming all goes as planned against Jorge, you said you're down to fight whoever you have to, whoever they put in front of you. But in all honesty, do you really still feel there are challenges left for you in Strikeforce at 155?
I think if I get past Jorge, if I stay in Strikeforce, no, I don't. Maybe Cris Cyborg. No, I'm just kidding. Nah, man, there's some definitely talent there, dude. There's some really talent, but I think I've done my thing there. I've done my thing in Strikeforce, and I think Jorge's the #1 contender, and I think he's super tough, dude, and that's kind of what I'm focused on right now. And I haven't even checked anyone else out. I mean, it'd even be cool if they brought some UFC guys to Strikeforce, and I fought them in Strikeforce, and Showtime. I love fighting in Strikeforce. I love fighting in the Hexagon. It doesn't really matter Strikeforce fighter or fighter. I just want a top fighter. You know what I mean? And Coker's always brought people out of nowhere. You know what I mean? Like he brought me Aoki. He brought me Kawajiri. I mean, Scott always will pull some tough fighter out of nowhere to give me a challenge. So right now I can't think of anyone in the roster. But again, man, just when I think I don't have a challenge in front of me, Scott always pulled someone out and gave me a challenge. So I don't doubt that they can find me someone. There's a lot of tough 55ers out there. So yeah.
All right, cool. I appreciate it. Best of luck to everybody next weekend. Thanks for the time.
Cool.
All right, thank you very much. We'll now move on to Matthew Ryder with Bleacher Report.
Hi guys, this is for Gil. Your last time out against Kawajiri, you were pretty impressive in terms of your ground and pound there. One of the big adjustments that we saw was going to the unified rules for that fight. How has that adaptation by Zuffa sort of changed your approach to training and I guess going into this fight with Jorge, if you put him on his back?
All my teammates they train with elbows, so Jake was like I think a pioneer in ground and pound with elbows. So his elbows has been something I've always had in the back of my mind, or even when I'm training and I'm passing guard, or I'm in the ground and pound, I'm working ground and pound. Like in my mind, I'm always like, man, I can elbow this guy right now. So it's nothing that like I just never just because Strikeforce didn't do elbows for a while, I just didn't like rule it out. It's something I've always added in my arsenal and love to work on, and it's something that's come naturally to me with my ground and pound. So I'm happy that it's there, because I think elbows are real effective. And sometimes they cut people and they end fights, when they shouldn't be ended, and where no one's really hurt. But I think when I throw elbows, I throw them with bad intentions, and I showed I could end a fight with some elbows. So I like the elbows. I like those rules in there. I used to fight in Hawaii, and I fought in Pride. Foot stomps, knees to the head. I mean, as a fighter, it's fun to do that stuff. Probably not the best for our longevity in the sport, but I'm pretty old school. I like to do all that stuff. I think it's pretty cool. So I'm happy with the elbows. I'm really happy about that, and I love those. I love the unified rules, and it's great. It's fun to have those.
Do you expect Jorge to be better prepared, given that Kawajiri was coming over from Japan, where he wouldn't have had to deal with something like that?
I think Jorge's with any of his losses, sometimes, he's probably wasn't as motivated sometimes, this is a fight where Jorge, I'm pretty sure, is pretty damn motivated. This is an opportunity of his life to really make a statement and a name for himself. So I think he's going to be really ready. You know what I mean? And I think of course. I hope now. I'm anticipating he did everything he can do to get ready. And that means looking at tape, looking at homework, and doing his homework and everything as well. So I'm sure he saw what I did in my last fight and took it into strong consideration. As well did I look at his fight plenty of times.
All right, thanks, Gil. Appreciate it.
Thank you, man.
All right, thank you very much. Well, once again, ladies and gentlemen, that's star 1 to queue up to ask a question. Again, that's star 1 at this time, and we'll move on to Richard Hunter with FifthRound.com.
Hello? That was Tom Go from FifthRound.com. Tom, is that you?
Yeah, that's me. How's it going?
Good. Go ahead.
Gilbert, earlier this year you signed a multi-year contract extension with Strikeforce. I was wondering if you knew if there's any verbiage in there that allows Zuffa to void out and sign you to a new UFC contract.
I can't confirm that, man. I don't know. I didn't. These contracts. It's like they're meant for us fighters not to understand them. That's what these contracts are about. So I have a lawyer, and and hopefully these guys who make the deals can get it going, and that's all I can really say about that. But I do have a multi-fight with Strikeforce, and I'm happy with Strikeforce. I'm happy with everything. I'm very grateful for it, and but I don't know what can exactly be done, but I'm sure these guys have the power to do whatever they want.
All right, Scott, if I could pose that question to you, since Gilbert wasn't exactly for sure, do you know anything about that?
Well, obviously we can't get into any type of, legal verbiage of what's in the contract, what's not. Those are all, bound by confidentiality provisions. But, what I can say is that, Gilbert is a great champion. I personally believe he's the #1 fighter in the world. And, I think that, Jorge Masvidal is where his mindset is and where his focus is, and that's where I think it should stay. And to me, what happens after this fight will depend on the outcome of the fight. So, let's just focus on the event.
Okay. And if I could just follow up one more time with Gilbert, if you were, if you were able to post a convincing win against Jorge, would you be disappointed if the UFC didn't try to transition you over?
You know what, man? I just don't. Of course, you want to be there, and I'm not trying to sound all like perfect or anything like that. But I don't have time to be like negative, really. You know what I mean? I'm really grateful for the pay they give me. I'm really grateful for being able to be a main event on Showtime, and there might be some disappointment if things go perfect and things don't go my way. But I'm grateful, man. I got really nothing too much to complain about, to be honest. So there's I'm blessed, dude. I'm blessed, but there's really nothing to bitch about, to be honest.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you very much. And we'll now move on to Sergio Nunn with USA Today.
Yeah, just a couple of housekeeping questions for Scott. I'm wondering, is this a January 7th card that's been talked about? Is that official? Is that actually going to happen? Or?
Sergio, right now we don't have anything to announce on that fight card. There's still some details to work out. So that's still a pending event.
Okay. Assuming that it is still pending, I'm wondering how you would be able to promote a decent card on relatively short notice.
Well, that's always a challenge, but it's right now we have more people working on Strikeforce than we've ever had, and they have a very good machine, and we're gonna if it does happen, we're gonna go for it, and promote the heck out of it. So, to me, the time frame really the most important thing for the event really is the last 6 weeks when you're promoting. So. We still have time if we can get this thing activated.
And the other thing I'm wondering is if you have an idea yet as to when the final of the heavyweight Grand Prix might take place.
Yeah, I still predict that it will happen in the late part of the first quarter. So we'd like to get this fight done before the end of the first quarter.
So perhaps that sounds like you're talking maybe sometime in March.
Yeah, that's kind of the month that we're shooting for. Again, we're monitoring Daniel Cormier's recovery from his broken hand. So I actually talked to Bob Cook a couple days ago, and Daniel's going back to the doctor, I think, sometime in a week, and they can see how the hand's healing up, and then we'll take it on a case, like a week-by-week basis. But that's kind of the target date, Sergio, is in the first quarter and hopefully in March.
Okay, great. Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you very much. And we do have time for one last question, and that'll come from We'll now go to Richard Hunter with KLLI Radio Dallas.
Yes, question for Cyborg Santos. Cyborg, there's been a recent war of words between Miesha Tate and Ronda Rousey about Miesha saying that legitimate contenders who have paid their dues should not be leapfrogged for title shots in the interest of fighters who have a better ability to promote themselves. And Ronda has said that all that really matters is a fighter's ability to sell tickets and market themselves. And your name, of course, has been mentioned in this argument. I wanted to know where you came down on that. Are you a firm believer that fighters pay their dues and wait their turn, or do you see Ronda's point that if a fighter can promote themselves, that they should be able to jump the line?
Pienso que que mover en categoría, que más que si es más famosa tiene más oportunidades para lutar, o você piensa si você trabalha duro puede tener oportunidades de trabajar como profesional en MMA? Eu sei que Miesha Tate falou com isso, que se uma mulher mais famosa tiene mais Miesha Tate falou que se você tem mais oportunidades, se é famosa ou se você trabalha duro.
Eu acho que na verdade, acho que os dois, né, tem que trabalhar duro, fazer boas lutas, e eu na real queria se mudar de 75 não porque para eu ter mais lutas, não questão de famosa, que eu vou continuar fazendo boas lutas. Eu não venho procurando, eu quero fazer lutas melhores e manter meu cinturão.
She kind of didn't understand the question, but basically she's saying that it works both ways. She believes that you can acquire prestige in the sport by working hard and fighting hard. In her instinct, she's saying that she's moving down to 35 because there's more opportunities to have probably more fights there, but not looking for fame or anything, just wants to put on the best fights that she can to challenge herself, But he says that it could work both ways as far as being popular and being a hard fighter. It depends, the luck of the draw, I guess.
Could I quickly pose that question to Scott Coker? Scott, I know this isn't a new debate, but obviously with MMA's increasing exposure to media, I think we'll probably see more fighters like Chael Sonnen and like Ronda Rousey. Where do you come down on that as a promoter?
Oh yeah, are you asking about the same question, Cyborg, or
same question?
Okay, here's how I feel about the Ronda situation. If you look at an MMA fighter, you just can't look at how many MMA fights they've had, because because how many matches in judo, how many competitive martial arts matches has she had? And when you look at a jiu-jitsu fighter, he might only have 5, 6, 7 fights, but he's had 1,000 jiu-jitsu matches. And so, when you're looking at an MMA fighter, you have to look at the total package. And the level of experience and the combat skill that Ronda has is far greater than a beginning fighter that's only had 2 or 3 fights. She still is young in her career, but with that Olympic experience and all those matches in judo, it makes her very credible very quickly. And to me, I would have no problem putting that fight together because of all the past experience that she's had in the Olympics and in judo. So, I guess my point is that it's not just a media hype. It's, Ronda's the real deal. I mean, she beat Julia Budd, who, is a very seasoned fighter, has tremendous skills and tremendous experience, and and Ronda went in there and did her thing. So to me, it's really about the skill, and we would never want to put a fighter in there that's overmatched because that's not good for anybody. So when you talk about Ronda, talk about somebody that's deserving and that has the skill to be there, even though the MMA record in cage fights might be limited. The experience, like I said, in judo Olympics, to me, all adds up to the equation.
Thank you.
All right, great. Well, it appears that's all the time we have for questions today. I'd like to turn things back over to Mr. Schaller for any additional or closing remarks.
Thank you, Abe, and thanks to all the media that joined in today. December 17th is going to be a big night for combat sports on Showtime. At 9 p.m., the Super 6 World Boxing Classic takes place. That leads right into a championship night of mixed martial arts with Strikeforce on Showtime starting at 10:30 p.m. Again, December 17th, Valley View Casino Center in San Diego. Tickets are still available. I want to say thank you to Gilbert Melendez, Jorge Masvidal, Cris Cyborg Santos, Hiroko Yamanaka, Scott Coker, and Andy Van Tornhout from Showtime. We will see everybody in San Diego. Have a great day, guys.